Hey guys, Jay! Welcome back to the channel. I decided to not really script this one out because I have a lot of thoughts in my head about this particular situation, and wanted to just sit down here and kind of get all my thoughts out in a row and see what you guys ultimately thought about this this Haslab project, which was announced. Yeah, it's been a very interesting situation for sure, and I just wanted to talk about it a little bit. So let's get down to this, guys. So as many of you probably know, the Haslab project for the Marvel Legends was dropped today, and after many teases and many speculations, it did actually end up becoming Hank Pym, the Giant Man. That's right, guys. Giant Man is now joining the Haslab tradition of gigantic, and I do mean gigantic, figures who are being brought to the line. Yeah, this is crazy. This was announced on their live stream this afternoon. Ryan from brand marketing and Dwight from product design. Again, it was pretty much expected. After all the teases on their Instagram account and things along those lines, I think everyone was expecting a Giant Man. As a matter of fact, good friend of the channel, Jeffrey Lyles, he was pretty much right on there and saying, yeah, I would love a Hank Pym. I really want to get a Giant Man. So it's a lot of people were looking forward to this. The final product, you know what? Honestly, it's pretty damn interesting. I mean, he is pretty huge, and he's definitely that classic comic book style Giant Man. There's no other way to put it. He's freaking gigantic. He's absolutely huge. But is he huge enough? Is he actually big enough to represent Giant Man? Before we get into that, I did want to take a look at the figure himself, what he comes with, and that's actually kind of the sticking point too. Does he come with enough? Does he come with enough, and is there enough incentive for people to back this project? Giant Man, $199.99. The price is actually pretty good, I have to say. There's really nothing wrong with the price. But looking at some of the more details of Hank Pym here, Giant Man, I mean, he looks good, right? He really, if you follow the comics, whether it was from, Golden Age or Silver Age, you'll know that Hank Pym is a very popular and actually very important part of the Avengers team. He's actually one of the founding members of the Avengers, as was illustrated many times in the movies as well. So here he is, Hank Pym, the Giant Man. I mean, he's got that red and blue suit. He looks amazing. He's got those antennae that are coming out of the front. Very different from his original helmet. I mean, this is Hank Pym as he was way back in the day. So really interesting to note that, and I'm gonna circle back to that actually. Funnily enough, I will circle back to that particular helmet. But for now, yeah, he looks really good. Like, honestly, I have no problems with the way he looks. He's got this weird looking smile in this particular picture, and we're gonna get to that too. There's a couple of things I want to mention about that as well. But yeah, he's got that utility belt, probably helps with the Pym particles. And those crazy boots. He really does invoke that idea of the Silver Age of comics. Rotating to the back, we can see that the straps come all the way to the back and come down into the pants, are actually affixed to the back of the shorts, and that means that this is the straps themselves are actually kind of loose. So he can still do his ab crunches because he's actually got multiple articulation points here in the midsection, and the straps themselves are not sculpted. They're not sculpted into the body. They're actually loose. So they can articulate and won't get in the way of his articulation. So that's really cool. He has multiple articulation points. So he's got butterfly joints. He's got a double elbow. Huge range of motion in all of his points. He's kind of like a 6-inch figure, but like giant scale size, which is pretty amazing. He's been known to like jump over buildings and really reach down, crouch down, put the knee to the floor. Those types of things. Whereas Galactus is not really well known for that. He doesn't really lumber over buildings. He's a freaking giant planet eater, and of course the Sentinel doesn't really do that. It just kind of like lumbers along and uses his tentacles to grab people. So that really wasn't a concern with those two. But this one, being Giant Man, he has to be able to do those types of things. Here we see him with a bit of a more stoic face, and this is actually the face I think, if I was to go in on this. And that remains to be seen. If I was to go in on this Haslab, I would definitely be going for this face as how to display him as a character. There's something about this smiling face that kind of rubs me the wrong way. It just looks a bit creepy, just a little bit stalkerish in a way. This one is very, very stoic, kind of a little bit determined. I really do like that type of expression. He really does look like a symbol of justice there. Here he is in one of his signature poses in the comic books. He's ready to stomp on any of opposing enemies. Wondering, though, if he can actually hold this pose, considering the fact that, you know, he is a bipedal figure. I'm not sure he can actually hold this pose. You'd have to maybe there's a stand that's going to be required to hold him in this pose, or maybe he pegs into a base of some sort. But it's nice that, you know, he can articulate this way, but I'm not really sure he can actually hold that pose. Here he is. He stands 24 inches tall, 60 centimeters high. But how does he stack up to the other giant figures that have already been released as HasLab projects? Well, I took a little bit of time and created this particular chart for comparison. So here we have Steve Rogers here standing right next to Giant Man. He stands at a whopping 6 inches tall, 15 centimeters. And if we scroll all the way up, there we have Hank Pym Giant Man at 24 inches, 60.96 centimeters. He's a big boy, I gotta tell you, but is he bigger than the other figures that have already been released in the line? The answer is no. Zooming out a bit, we can already see that the Sentinel is an additional 4 inches taller, 4 inches and a bit, at 26.34 inches, 66.9 centimeters tall. And that's not the biggest boy in the Marvel Haslab crew. No, no, no. If we zoom out even more, there's the big boy himself. There is Galactus, standing at a whopping 32 inches tall. He literally dwarfs both of these guys. So yeah, Hank Pym is 24 inches tall. He is not the biggest boy in this crowd, but that's a good thing. That actually is a good thing. And the reason I say that is because we're talking about three gigantic figures here. And the Sentinel needs to be imposing as a character in the mythos. Galactus is still too small. I mean, Galactus is the planet devourer. He's the planet eater. He actually should be way bigger than this. But in terms of like presence on your shelf, in terms of like, you know, what you want to see, I think that they did a good job here in terms of like, you know, giving some sort of gravitas, some sort of presence. Yeah, this is actually not so bad. The Sentinel, of course, is not a person. It's not a human being. It's not a living creature. So giving him the proportions that he has actually make him look more menacing. You know, he's there's something different about him. He's definitely not human. He's humanoid, but he's not human. You can actually kind of tell that. Whereas both Giant Man and Galactus embody some sort of, again, humanoid, right? They have They both have 5 fingers. Don't know if Galactus has any toes, but I mean, they have this humanistic shape. So the way they've actually been designed, I really like the way that the HasLab Marvel Legends team has decided to put this together. So very, very cool seeing all 3 of these iconic figures in one pose and seeing just how tall they are in action figure form. It's pretty freaking crazy seeing that Galactus still is the biggest boy in town. It's absolutely crazy. Getting into some of the more finer details, Hank Pym has a ton of articulation in his hands, very similar to the way Galactus's hands were done. Each individual finger has multiple articulation points. The hand actually has a cut closer to the palm, which allows him to really reach over and articulate thumb and index finger. He can even do the snap. I believe that that was a highlight of the features that they talked about. When you look at this one, very much the same technology as Galactus, and I don't mind that. That's actually pretty cool. The faces, though, I don't know, man. These are kind of creepy faces, man. Like seriously, there's a bit of creepiness going on here. I mean, the stoic face, not bad. I don't mind that one. The somewhat kind of grimacing, kind of growling face, yeah, I don't mind that one either. But I gotta tell you, when it comes to this smiling face, now Hank Pym has always been a bit jovial. He's always been, you know, kind of, he has a lot of levity. You know what I mean? He's uplifting. He really inspires people that way. But I gotta tell you, there's something about this face that's just, woo-hoo, that is creepy city, man. That is kind of like Pennywise kind of levels of creepiness there, man. Like kind of crazy. If I'm gonna display this guy, if I decide to go into this, which I don't think I will, that's definitely not the face I would be using. I'd be using pretty much the stoic face or this face here. Now, one thing I forgot to mention is that a highlight of the facial sculpt is that the eyes are actually going to be actual sort of glass or transparent plastic, according to Dwight. This is cool, as it's going to actually give this sort of realism to the eyes. And the way they actually mentioned it is that it's going to be the most realistic looking Marvel Legends character that they've ever made, which is great. This is a wonderful time to experiment with that. It is a hit and miss situation for me because if you've seen those what are they called? The Super Mario Brothers movie figures. They got this glassy kind of thing on top of their eyes. And it's kind of creepy, man. They kind of follow you everywhere. It's just a bit strange, but it remains to see how it will work with Hank Pym here. It'd be very interesting to see how that works. We can see just how big this character is meant to be as they posed him here with multiple characters that have already been released in the line. We can see him here with Ultron, with Captain America here. I think it's one of MODOK's minions, actually, if I'm not mistaken. Here we can actually see him ripping apart Ultron. I'm not even sure the character can actually do that, but it's actually really neat that they actually put that together. That's really a lot of fun. Now, of course, we know Ultron has multiple clones of himself, and that's kind of cool. These are all digital renders as far as I can tell. I don't think that these are actually maybe this is. It's kind of hard to tell. They never really mentioned if these are actual digital renders or actual figures. I'm going to just assume that these are actual photos. They look really, really good the way they are. The lighting looks very realistic. So yeah, I'm going to go ahead and just assume that these are actual photographs. You see this creepy smiley face? In certain situations, it looks really good, but in other situations, it just looks damn weird to me. It's just kind of funny. But here we can see the entire Avengers team, gathered. We see the Hulk, we see Hawkeye, we see Iron Man, more like classic Iron Man, actually. We see Thor, Captain America, and of course Black Widow, all posing with Hank Pym holding on to Ultron's head. Hilarious. You gotta love that kind of again, lots of fun that Hank Pym has in this situation. And that brings us to what I would consider to be the one of the weakest points of this campaign, the stretch goals. So Hank Pym at $199.99 comes with some pretty good basic tiers. I mean, like, what he actually comes with is not so bad. Hank Pym here, of course, 24 inches tall, 60 centimeters high, fully articulated, comes with 2 additional swap faces, which is great. So for $200, you get a pretty decent offering. So all this comes together at around 10,000 backers. Now, that's actually a modest goal. Honestly, for $200, it's not hard to see that this is definitely good value for the money. I'm not disputing that at all. Where I kind of have a problem with this is stretch goals. Now, when people hear HasLab, they hear big dream projects, I think a lot of people are expecting quite a bit for those stretch goals. I mean, from past HasLabs for Marvel Legends, I mean, every single time we've seen a giant character like the Sentinel or Galactus, the very first thing people are expecting is, oh, you're gonna get an action figure, right? That seems to be the case. After all, the Sentinel actually came with Bastion right out of the gate, as well as a swappable Sentinel head, and that was really cool. I mean, that was an actual huge added value for the character himself. And then after the fact, they actually included additional tiers like Master Mold's head, which was a very popular choice. The second stretch goal was damaged head and the damaged hands. And then after that, they introduced another Sentinel figure, a female version this time. And finally, to wrap everything up, we got the Tri-Sentinel head. That's crazy. That was an amazing pack out and amazing tiers for this. Keeping in mind, of course, that this was a $350 figure for this HasLab project, which is $150 than what they're asking for Hank Pym. Similarly, though, for Galactus, his standard offering was pretty good too. I mean, we had Galactus himself and 3 swappable faceplates, as a matter of fact. Galactus also had light-up features, which really made the character stand out. And then there were the stretch goals themselves, which, of course, incorporated Frankie Nova, a new version of Silver Surfer, another Herald of Galactus in Morgue, and finally, to round off the entire set, the final stretch goal was the head of Doctor Doom. Once again, it should be noted that this figure was $399. His HasLab went running right out the gate and funded within the first few days. It was absolutely crazy. Hank Pym's offerings for the stretch goals are, well, I'm not going to put it lightly, they're weak, in my opinion. The first stretch goal at 2,000 backers is the undead version of Hank Pym. Now, this is an interesting choice as the character himself, at least in the original iterations, never had an undead version. I believe this comes from some of the more recent comics for the undead versions of characters in storylines. It's a nice sculpt. I mean, it's creepy as hell. But in terms of an offering for a stretch goal, I mean, it's just a face swap. That seems to be my biggest issue here. Yeah, the antennae look pretty cool. They've been chewed up a little bit. I think he's been chewing on them himself. We got this crazy looking, almost goblin-like appearance of a face with like the yellowing teeth, the rotting flesh. And yeah, he looks cool. I'm not gonna say no. But it's not really inspiring me to actually back this project. And then the final stretch goal, because there are only 2 stretch goals as far as I can tell, is a Skrull faceplate replacement, along with his ears. Now, this is going to be interesting to see how they accomplish this. The ears themselves, I'm not sure exactly how they attach. I think that there's a swappable portion here behind these plates on the head sculpt. As we can see here, there are these wider plates here. I'm wondering if they actually detach from any of the sections, and then you can attach these ears separately. That'll be interesting to see how that works out. And then you have this crazy looking Skrull face. Now, yeah, it does look pretty cool, I have to admit. You know, the eyes, the way they have slightly greenish tinge, you know, the overall striking red appearance of those eyes, you know, that signature chin that they have, along with that grimacing mouth. I mean, come on. This guy looks amazing. He looks like he's ready to do business. And those ears, man, those ears really look cool. I do have to say, though, it looks really cool as a full head sculpt. I just don't understand why they didn't just give us the ability, give us off, or at least offer us the full head sculpts themselves. I think the full head sculpts would have gone a long way to get people excited about this, because it's annoying. I don't know if you've ever tried to replace, a face from head sculpt. It's actually really, really annoying. Not only that, I think someone, I believe it was Jeffrey Lyles from Jeffrey Figure Files, good friend of the channel. He actually brought up the idea that he's concerned that over time, if you keep swapping out the pieces, it's actually going to give a little bit of wear and tear on the attachment section, because the peg itself, it wears down over time. So will it become loose? How will it attach properly? There are a lot of questions involved with this. And yeah, it's just one of those situations where a lot of us are just wondering, would it have been easier just to give us, head sculpts that can be swapped? And again, it would have been a little bit more enticing, in my opinion, for that situation. After all, it's not like we're not used to that. We've been getting head sculpts for different Haslabs for years. So it remains to be seen why that couldn't happen. It also is an interesting point that it would have been a great opportunity in terms of like the history of Ant-Man and Giant Man. I think it would be really cool. I think it would have been a really wonderful gesture to actually get Hank Pym's Ant-Man helmet as a head swap. I think that would have been really, really cool. Now I know what a lot of people are going to say. It's the wrong, it's the wrong series. It's the wrong suit. But still, stranger things have happened. I mean, we got the Doctor Doom head swap for Galactus. That's just way out of left field. That's something that's just really, really strange, in my opinion. And equally as strange, this would have been just neat to have. I don't know. That's just my opinion, and it's just an idea, mainly because, again, I just feel that these particular stretch goals fall a little short of the mark. It's just my opinion overall, and yeah, I might be in the minority on that. I might actually well be within the minority. Please, guys, let me know what your thoughts about that are in the comment section below. How's this project going, though? To be honest with you, the velocity on this is not nearly as fast as any other Haslab project before it. I think the Sentinel was pretty quick out the gate. I think it got nearly half of its backers in the first few minutes. Similar situation with Galactus. Now, we have to remember that Galactus was 14,000 backers, and the Sentinel was 6,000 backers. This one is 10,000 backers, but when it was actually being announced, it was a really slow trickle when the backers were first starting to come in. It's around 3:46 in the afternoon right now, and Eastern Standard Time, and it started to pick up a little bit. So I think about an hour ago, it was 1,956 backers, 1,956 backers. If we hit refresh right now on the page, it's jumped all the way to 2,320 backers. It's coming close to to 1/3 funded for this Haslab. If this continues, it's definitely going to fund probably within at least by next week. I would imagine that it'll be fully funded by then. There are a lot of things which are brought into question with this particular Haslab. I mean, to me, I think that Marvel Legends, much like the Star Wars Haslab team, they needed a win because Marvel has had a really good track record. Their first real loss definitely was the Spirit of Vengeance. Sorry, the Engine of Vengeance with Ghost Rider. That was pretty much their only tick on their score sheet. But there was a lot of fan reaction to it. A lot of people were, they were not happy with the way that was handled. So with this one, I think that they really wanted to hit this one out of the park. The barrier to entry here has been lowered quite a bit. I mean, it's only $200. One of the most affordable HasLabs in recent memory. $200 is a very good price for Giant Man. It's literally $150 less than the Sentinel. The number of backers to actually get this into production, it's only 10,000. That's actually a huge incentive because it's really low in terms of like getting that goal. After all, we're already at 2,320 backers now. We're getting closer to 3,000 backers. That's 1/3 of the way to the final goal. Unfortunately, everything else is a bit hit and miss for me. The swappable plates for the head sculpt, you really have to be somebody who likes to fiddle with their toys on that level, because for me it's kind of tedious, kind of having to remove a faceplate, put it back in. It gets a little bit cumbersome. And then the actual stretch goals themselves, again, not to be a negative Nancy here, but yeah, I think actual head sculpts would have been a little bit better in my opinion. I don't know, that's just me. I could be in the minority on that again, as I said, but I think that, as Jeffrey Lyles has pointed out, a good friend of the channel, I don't know how long, if you continue to pop these things off and put them back in, how long will that peg and hole system last, considering you keep removing them, putting them back in. The hole itself is going to start to widen a little bit, there's going to be a little bit of degradation, and it'll eventually become loose over time. So yeah, it's really, really interesting to see how this thing will stand up over the course of play for multiple collectors. As a matter of fact, the antennae, I wonder how secure those two little things are. They seem a little bit not that durable in my opinion. That's just me. I don't really know, not having it at hand. But yeah, guys, this thing is well on its way to its 10,000 backer goal. Already 2,320 backers as of 3:49 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. 45 days, 8 hours, and 12 minutes left to go. Let me know in the comment section below, guys. Are you excited about this new announcement for the HasLab for Marvel Legends, the Ant-Man, Hank Pym? You can back this right now on HasbroPulse.com. Let me know if you guys are going to put down the $200 US that it's going to cost to actually get this to your home. Let me know if you thought that this was good value for the money, or let me know in the comment section below if this is a bit of a disappointment for you. First of all, the fact that it is the comic book version of Hank Pym, the Giant Man. The fact that it could have been another character entirely, or perhaps a vehicle like the Quinjet, maybe the Blackbird. Let me know those comments in the comment section below, guys, and tell me what your thoughts are about the stretch goals and the fact that there is no swappable head feature, just the swappable face feature, and if that's enough to get this thing over the finish line. Because I was watching earlier displaying model behavior, and Dan over there, yeah, he was actually kind of critical about this, at least a little bit critical about this, and he's literally encouraging his fan base to hold off on backing this thing until the very end to see what Hasbro will do, and if they'll be offering additional bonuses if you hold off just long enough, similar to the way they did for the Sky Striker and what they were able to do for the Rancor. That will be interesting to see. Guys, if you enjoyed this episode, please do leave me a like. It really helps me out. I hope you're all doing well, staying safe. And as always, everybody, thank you very much for watching. Good journey, everybody. Geek Proud. I want to give a huge shout out to all my Patreon and channel member supporters. Thank you so much, everybody. It's thanks to your support that this channel continues to grow and really helps the channel to keep growing. You guys are the best. Thank you so much for your support, guys. It really means a lot.